Tensions in the South China Sea to report this morning. A U.S. Navy warship conducting operations this morning near the contested islands that are claimed by Beijing in the South China Sea. This is according to the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The Chinese Communist Party is claiming that the U.S. warship was expelled from the area. The Navy denying any expelled in reports. Joining me right now is the Atlas Organization founder and the author of China's Vision of Victory, Jonathan Ward, is here. Jonathan, it's good to see you. We've been talking about these contested islands and the way that Beijing bullies its neighbors in the South China Sea. Your thoughts on what is taking place today in terms of China's claiming that those islands are its, and it is certainly bullying its neighbors, including the United States.
Good morning, Maria. It's great to be back. Well, on one hand, the freedom of navigation operations are a very regular thing that's been happening over many years. The U.S. Navy asserting its right to patrol in all waterways, including those that are claimed by Beijing. But I think what you've said here is what's important, is that China's beginning a new narrative in which they are standing up to the United States, pushing back on the United States. We saw that in Anchorage in Alaska, where Yang Jiechi basically asserted that China was now, the Communist Party was ready to take on the United States, and that our values didn't necessarily count all over the world. And now they're telling principally their own people that they're able to, deter our military in the South China Sea. So insofar as that's what they're saying, I think it fits into a broader narrative at home of confrontation with America that's been building up over some time. And as to their own neighbors, I mean, that's been constant for years now. I mean, everything from the China-India border clashes last summer to the harassment of Japan in the East China Sea and certainly Taiwan. So you're seeing an increasingly aggressive Beijing. I mean, there have been very few consequences for them in all of this. So they're going to keep on pushing.
Yeah. Well, look, during this whole COVID pandemic nightmare that we're all living through, it seems that the Chinese Communist Party has used the opportunity to gain more power and ground, invading India, bullying its neighbors in the South China Sea, going into Hong Kong as aggressively as it has. We've been talking about the origins of the COVID-19 disease this morning, and yet, Jonathan, while China tries to dampen, anything known about its involvement in the pandemic and COVID-19 across the world, it has used the opportunity to gain more ground, as well as a crackdown on crypto. Bitcoin dropped below 40,000 yesterday. The Chinese government took steps to limit crypto trading. So I want to get your thoughts about all of this and its impact on business, Jonathan, because you were the first to come on this program over several times over the years to say the challenge and the fight, the economic soft war that's going on between the U.S. and China will take place in corporate America's backyard. And then just last week, Cornerstone Macro's Nancy Lazar came out with a report on looking at the impact of China's dominance on growth. Here's what she had to say.
Beijing has recognized, one, growth can't continue as rapid as it was. They've had too many boom-bust cycles, which are destabilizing to their domestic economy. Second, they want control over a lot of information and over not only technology as you had, but they want control of what their consumers are buying. So they're increasingly suggesting consumers actually buy Chinese. But that's a problem. Slower growth trajectory for China, and Beijing now encouraging more domestic consumption of domestic products is going to be a headwind to many multinationals who keep thinking that China is going to be this huge growth engine. So we would advise multinationals to be a little cautious in their growth trajectories for China. We think this is a secular shift down in growth that will definitely be a headwind to multinationals, in particular U.S. multinationals.
Jonathan, your thoughts, because in many cases, the corporate sector has not gotten the memo about the threat of China.
Well, I think that's right. I think boards and C-suites are starting to see that geopolitics matter again. So, you can't look at the world today without realizing that China's presenting huge problems to international security and all kinds of challenges for U.S. government and other governments. But what does that mean for people's business? I think that's what people haven't yet adjusted to, because China featured way too heavily in corporate strategy, I think, for the past 20 or 30 years. I mean, big piece of supply chains, huge market, all of those ideas, I think, have have been central to corporate thinking and action. And they're going to have to begin to reduce and wind down their China dependency. I mean, you don't want to depend on America's primary adversary when we're headed into a long-term event that will be on the scale of essentially a second Cold War. And I think boardrooms don't yet have a plan for that. That's what they're going to need. How are you going to take steps to reduce your dependency on China, to rebalance in other markets, and ideally to wind up on the right side of the United States? Because we're going to have to win a long-term economic competition with China. So it's going to require long-term thinking and planning inside boards and sort of immediate action inside the C-suite. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in corporate America there. And the real problem in my mind is that Wall Street is still selling China as a growth market. I mean, you have so many institutions pitching Chinese stocks, I mean, deeply involved in that market, underwriting Chinese corporates. And you're going to have this head-to-head competition between U.S. multinationals and Chinese state-backed companies in every sector. And you're already seeing Chinese companies sort of cluster together across technology and emerging industries to work together to create new competitive advantages. So I think that there are very few companies that have really prepared for this, but it's what's coming next is serious competition from China, a market that's not as good as you thought it was, and the need for a new strategy.
It's such a good point that you just made that now Chinese companies are creating clusters. So they are pretty much being subsidized by the Communist Party, and clusters of companies in all sectors are competing against American companies. You've got the investor class as well, people like Ray Dalio and Larry Fink, who are pushing Chinese equities and investing in this space, even as the Chinese Communist Party has made it very clear they want to overtake America as the #1 superpower. That's why Florida Senator Marco Rubio is leading legislation, supporting legislation that would put a ban on investing in companies with ties to the Chinese military. Marco Rubio joined me yesterday. Here's what he said.
Not only do I support them, I helped write. I wrote 2 or 3 of them, and so I definitely want to see that as part of anything we do now on this China bill. This has to be dealt with. Look, people don't realize it, but the Chinese figured it out a long time ago, right? And that is, they're American corporations and American investors, and what they want to do is make money. They want to make a profit. And what happens is you now see all these dollars flowing, including the money from federal government retirees. Basically, the equivalent of the 401k for federal employees, including members of Congress, is investing in companies that are linked to, that are owned by controlled by the Chinese military. The companies that are helping the Chinese build the weapons that are designed to defeat America in a war one day and kill Americans.
Jonathan, final word here. We've been connecting the dots on this story now for years. Do you think that corporations have a second plan B for growth stories away from China?
I think they need one. I mean, that's really the most important thing in my mind for corporates thinking and acting internationally is what is your global growth strategy if China is going to be an adversary of the United States? But the other thing was Rubio's comments there. I think this is incredibly important. Congress has to win this fight with Wall Street. We cannot continue to finance our primary adversary. I think, there needs to be serious focus from the whole of Congress on, ending American investment in China.
Yeah. All right. Great point. Jonathan, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much. We'll, of course, keep spotlighting this very important issue. Jonathan Ward joining us.